everyone, this is Tina and I'm at National Bank Financial with my friend Youssef here, and he has a story to share with us today.
Hello everyone, like Tina mentioned, my name is Youssef Haidar. I'm an investment banker at National Bank Financial, and I wanted to share with you guys today how I became a investment banker or an investment advisor here at National Bank Financial, because that was not always in the cards growing up. I was born here in Windsor. I am one of 4 people, 3 younger siblings. And throughout my earlier education, my parents really pushed for us to become doctors, lawyers, engineers, which is very typical of our culture. And we didn't really get much of a say at it growing up. As I got into high school, again, taking a lot of science courses and didn't even really look at business. But then, there was always some sort of interest in the math field. Like I really liked numbers. Growing up, I was the type of person that used to read the financial news and was really interested on how things work, why stocks go up and down. And I even enjoyed reading those financial reports, like the earnings reports, which
Really?
nobody did. Yeah, they're very boring. But that was just a hobby of mine. And I didn't invest, and I didn't really, other than reading, I didn't really partake in any of the investment world. So that was high school. In university, again, I studied science, biological science. And my brother got accepted to med school, and he went to med school. And we were talking one day, and he told me that he's like, medical school is really, really hard. Don't become a doctor. It's a lot of work. And it made me think, then, is this something I want to do for the rest of my life? I'm glad that my brother is, and he loves what he does. But, I had this quiet rumbling that maybe something in the finance sector would make a lot of sense. So I joined a bank, and of course I started at the bottom of the bottom. I was a teller at one of the other banks, and in my spare time I used to just read, and by then I started doing my own investments and investing online and things like that. And I just loved it. I loved it. So I took the courses that I needed to become even more involved in investing. And then I moved from one bank to National Bank. And then I climbed my way up to an associate here at National Bank Financial, where I did that for about 7 or 8 years. And now I am an investment advisor, a wealth management advisor.
You told me you had no idea that you were going to go into banking when you started at banking.
No, in fact, when I started at the other bank, I did it while I was in school. So this was a way of helping my parents pay for my tuition, and it was a way to have some spending money. And it was nice because the hours were during the day. So the days that I had off from university or on weekends, this was good. But I didn't know that this was going to turn into my career. At the time, this was just buying my time before I applied to med school or pharmacy or dentistry or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had the same pressures, my culture. I think I took all of the tests, the MCAT, the LSAT, the dental one.
Yeah, I feel like you'd fit in perfect with my family, because when I was a kid, I used to remember my parents would just be like, I'll give you an example, Tina. So when how when you go into high school, you have to apply for your courses. Yeah. And you always have the basics, you have your English and your French and your, sciences and things like that. But they always left a couple of electives, like things that you wanted to do. It would be like woodworking or machine working or something, or automotive or something like that. My parents got mad when I chose like woodworking in grade 9. And they're like, where are you going to go with this? Like, there's no extra science class. You can't take like a grade 10 class. And then summers would come, and then be like, isn't there like courses that you could do to kind of get into the medical field quicker?
We went to the same high school, right? Massey?
Yeah, you went to Massey?
I went to Massey. So you did the Massey 6? The Enrich 6?
I did the Enrich program, yes.
Yeah, I think the only one I didn't do was, I don't know, like data management or something, but I did the other 5, and it was just, I don't know, it was, I didn't even choose that. I think it was just the culture that we grew up in, it being in Massey. You just did the Enriched 6.
Was it like a flex for you to be in the Enrich program?
No.
Okay, no. So in my family it was. For some reason, it was like a dinner topic. My son's in the Enrich program. Lo and behold, it's nothing. There wasn't really a big difference from the academic.
Yeah. You know what I did do? I did stay after school with Mr. White, and I did the math program.
Mr. Bruce White. Yes. There is many stories that I have with Mr. White. Yeah. Actually, you know what? A funny story about Mr. White. His math classes were so interesting to me that there was times that I used to just visit his night math. And I wasn't, there's some really, really, really smart people in those classes. But yeah, I would say he was a big part of why I liked the numbers game so much. He was really good, very passionate about maths. Yeah, Mr. White. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, my family was so strict that was the only time I was able to socialize. I stayed at school and I went to the math program.
Actually, yeah, that makes sense. It's like, okay, well, you're in night math, so it's okay.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
go out.
Like, yeah, you're going to learn, sure.
So then when I graduated from Massey in grade 12, and I went to University of Windsor, I didn't take any business classes. Like this was completely new to me because I was full-fledged on going something in the health field. That the hardest part about coming into the banking world was kind of learning a lot of the stuff on my own. Of course, there's tons of courses and tons of material out there to really learn. But I felt like I was kind of behind the ball when I first started here. Yeah, it wasn't the easiest transition. But I think I'm a big believer that if you enjoy doing it, it's not really work. It's you enjoy doing it and you want to do it. Time flies, and before you know it, it's like, oh my God, I've been reading for 3-4 hours because you enjoy doing it, and the motivation was there. So that was a interesting time. And then telling my parents, that I'm no longer going to fulfill their dream of becoming a doctor.
Yeah.
And I used my brother there. And I said, well, you have one in the family. And then my sister's a nurse. I'm like, you have a nurse? You have two. You have some dentists in the family, and there's some, other family members are doctors. I'm like, it's fine. But yeah, they've been really, really supportive since, and yeah, it's been quite the ride.
I was just gonna ask you. So they're obviously supportive of you now in the banking.
It's funny because they didn't know what I do just as much as when I first started here. I didn't know what was offered here. So when they say banking, the extent of what my parents knew at the time was they go into the bank, they have a checkbook, they deposit and withdraw, pay a bill, maybe withdraw at the ATM.
Yeah.
But I think that's important to mention. Banking there's the world of finance is not. I think a lot of people think that it's just what they see at the front lines at the retail or personal bank, but there's so many different avenues and so many different branches within finance that there's almost something for everyone. If you're a person that likes to be client facing and talking to people, tons of positions there. If you're somebody that likes to be behind the scenes and wants to do more analysis and portfolio analysis and compliance and things like that, great. If you want to be a coach and a leader, there's the management roles. So there's a lot of different things. So for my parents, they only saw deposit withdrawal. They didn't really know. In fact, when I started off as a teller. So when they would come in, they would just see that. He was just a teller. You deposit my checks, and you help me get my money out. But now, later on in my career, when I bring them in, because I do manage their monies, they're fascinated that there's a whole behemoth of a department that does a lot of things from research, planning, portfolio analysis, investing. I mean, it's just really, really, it's a really big department, and I would say that they're happy with my decisions. I hope.
Good. Yeah. I mean, just like you said, if it feels like you love it so much, it doesn't really feel like work. And so to you, does it just feel like you're just hanging out with your friends all day in a sense? Yeah.
So let me clarify. So so if you really, really enjoy it, yes, it's not work, but there's always those challenging days.
Yeah.
Yes. And the banking is no different. My job is tied to portfolio management of a lot of clients, which is then reliant on the markets, right? And as we know, the markets can be very, very volatile. I would say if I look back in my career, Tina, I would say the hardest times for me was the COVID. I wasn't in the finance when the economic crisis happened in 2008 and 2009. And there's been, previous ones before that, which obviously I wasn't a part of. So my first real taste of, volatility and markets going through a very, very tough time was COVID, when markets went down 35-40% in a matter of a few days. And, and so if you had a portfolio and you look online and all of a sudden your numbers are down. Yeah, that was a tough time. So even though I enjoy what I'm doing, it was very, very tough. And then in 2022, when interest rates went up really, really quickly, again, that was a tough time. And now with a lot of geopolitical stuff and a lot of different things that are going around the world, I find that the most challenging part is dealing with clients, staying their hands a little bit, reminding them of their overall plan, reminding them that this is just a blimp of a bigger picture, right? If we ever look at an index chart, it's down now, but over the long term, if you have a nice, well-defined portfolio, that typically you will do well. Yeah, so dealing with emotional investors is probably the hardest part of this role. So I do enjoy it, but it does have its challenges for sure. For sure. Yeah.
Okay, so if someone is new to investing or they don't invest at all, I know you think it's very important that people do that. What is your advice for people to maybe get started if it's like you look at it and it's just like, this is too much?
I think that's honestly a very, very, very good question. I don't think, well, maybe now it's different. I don't think growing up there was enough lessons helping people budget, preparing for their retirement, preparing for their future. And there's a lot of vehicles out there. There's a tax-free, now there's a first home savings plan, there's obviously investments, there's non-registered accounts, there's RSP. There's a lot of stuff out there. And I could see where a lot of people that want to better their finances or get a better hold of their finances, they don't know where to start. And they see this, this giant behemoth of a topic, and they run scared because they don't know where to start. My advice would be that there are advisors, obviously many banks, that their primary role is to help navigate this confusing sector at times, right? And my first recommendation would be, to sit down with an advisor. You don't have to do this all on your own. The advisors have a lot of knowledge dealing with clients in their, in different types of, in different stages of their life, I would say. But I would speak first to probably the younger generation. I would say that, I hear this a lot, especially my sister, who's a lot younger than me, her circle of friends, oh, this is something that I'll worry about later on in life. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a grave mistake. I think there's a lot of statistics that I can show you that if you start earlier, you can actually put less money in, and it would compound years and years and years into the future. That you don't have to put a big amount, whereas if you started in your 30s, 40s, 50s, you'd have to put a bigger amount to get to, your retirement goals. And I would say to the younger generation, start early, but also, learn how to budget. There is, as you know, Tina, it's very, I would say, since COVID, it's been very, very quickly, but it's very expensive now. The cost of living has gone up, and, mortgage rates have gone up, house prices have gone up, right? So I do think it's something that, you want to start earlier than later. And I would also say that, you don't necessarily have to know everything under the sun about investing. That obviously the advisors will be there to help you. I think it's more important about having a plan. So sitting down with your advisor, or even sitting down with yourself and saying, okay, I am X number of years old. I want to retire, or I want to buy a house, or I want to get married, and my plan is this. And it can change, right? It doesn't have to be solidified, but it could change. But it's just saying, okay, to get there, what do I need to do now? How do I budget now? And working with your advisor, helping, maybe doing some sort of monthly contributions or something to help reach the goal. And I think that's the best advice I can give everyone. Have a plan, then sit with your advisor, and then work out how to get to that plan.
What if somebody has debt? I don't know, a lot of debt, a little bit of debt. Do they still invest, or is it more of a concern to get rid of the debt? Because I feel like if people owe money, they might be like, why would I invest? Because I owe money. Sure.
That's a common question that I get a lot. It's, do I pay off my credit card, or do I give you the money to invest? I do think it's case by case, but I'll tell you generally, like a mortgage, I don't consider, in my opinion, is not a, it's not a debt like a credit card or a line of credit, right? Yeah. So let's start with the premise that, we're talking about credit cards and lines of credits. Before, when interest rates were so low, I don't know if you remember, it was before COVID, you can get interest rates. It was in maybe 3%, 4% to get a line of credit. In theory, the answer is that if you're making more in the markets, right? If you're making more in your portfolio, then yeah, you would invest the money rather than pay off your debt. Whereas interest rates now have climbed up, right? And they're almost in the double digits, or some are in the double digits. It's really hard to outperform that in the markets right now. Yeah. So, the answer would be, logically, was that you pay your debt. But I think it's deeper than that. I think it's also, it's how you manage the debt. Obviously, you don't want to live paycheck to paycheck. If you have an opportunity to pay down the debt, maybe not all of it, I think that maybe it would make sense to tackle that first. Because you are paying interest, right? And if you have the money just sitting in the bank account, it's hard to justify that, how come I have this debt? And then all debt's a little bit different. Like I said, like a car loan where you're paying 18, 19, 20% is probably something that you want to pay down right away. So I think it's a little bit of a give and take. I would say the general answer is pay off your debt. Mm-hmm. Pay off your debt and then get it, and then work on investing. Yeah. Especially high interest debt like credit card debt. Credit card is at least 20%, right? 100%. Yeah. I'll pay that off. 100%. If you have credit card debt and you have a nice portfolio, we would strongly recommend that you take a little bit out of your portfolio and bring that debt down to zero if you can. Yeah. Something popped up in my head earlier. I don't know who said it, but I'm just remembering, the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest. Have you heard that? Yes. And I don't think enough people know what that means, compound interest. Your money is making money on the money that you made. Mm-hmm. So it's a very, very powerful tool. And that's kind of alludes to what I was talking about earlier, that if you start earlier, you can actually put down less. Then your money would be making money on the money you contributed and the growth of your portfolio. It is literally the eighth wonder of the world when it comes to financing. I think people get motivated in this when they see, like in your circumstance, that, hey, it's growing. You know, I feel like, you know, when people sometimes get in at the wrong time, they're just like, oh, well, it's like going to the casino. But over the long run, people get very much involved when, one, they have a say in what they're doing. So, if, like I said, when you have a plan, it feels like, hey, I have control of my life. I have control of my finances. It's not somebody's doing it for me. That's one. And two, when they see their portfolios grow and they see that they're reaching their goals. So when you say, I put in 10,000 in 2016 and my plan was, you know, I want to eventually buy a house and I want to get to 50,000 by this date, and you get there, I think it's like a euphoric moment. I think people get very, very excited, and it makes them want to continue to save and invest. I'll give you a personal story. I know we have a client that her and her daughter invest with us, and she's been convincing, you know, to tell the daughter, you know, when did you start investing? And she would say, oh, I don't have much. And so we sat down and said, it doesn't have to be a big amount. You know, you could start very, very little, you know, work within your budget. She just finished university and she's looking to start, but she doesn't have maybe the funds to start aggressively. And she started something very small. And it was one of those that came automatically out of her paycheck and it went to a portfolio here. And it was just been going on for a couple of years. Tina, this has grown so much that when she called and she said, oh my God, I gotta buy a car. My car broke down, and you know, what can you give me? And it was funny. I asked her, how much do you think that you have in your portfolio? And she gave me a number, and it was nowhere near that. It was thousands of dollars more. And the reason was, and I went through the history, is, you know, there were some tough times, but overall she's done very, very well. She was so ecstatic that, you know, she withdrew the money to pay for a car, and then she was like, I want to bump up my savings. So people that see the fruit of it get really, really motivated. And because she started so young, when we did the projection plan, when she gets in her 60s, she couldn't believe that, you know, she would have this sum of money, according to the plan, available to her to retire. And her mom was like, I wish I started earlier. Like, you have this ability to start in your 20s. Here I am talking to my advisor later on in life and saying, oh my God, I have to put a lot more down just to catch up to you. And you could put a lot less in, you know, compound and time. You're going to do very, very well. So so we hear those stories a lot.
And when you said the word control, that reminded me of what the attitude of a lot of younger people is these days. Is like, we don't have any control at all. So what is the point of even saving? But I mean, I'm sure you're going to know better. But like, if we don't save at all, you're just running behind the times and you're just fighting to stay afloat. You have to start somewhere, even if it's like $20 a week out of your paycheck, right? I agree.
I would answer your comment there two ways. One, there is the control in the sense I can do it all on my own. I can get Wealth Simple or Robinhood and invest in my own, right? And why do I need an advisor? To that, I would say, there's a lot of people that like to do this on their own as a hobby. I would say it takes a lot of time. So help with an advisor, my role is to research and provide the best advice. That's what I do. I mean, these people probably have different jobs and they're trying to do this on the side. You know, sometimes they can't find the time. The other thing that I would say, so I would say that the advisor approach, you know, is really in their benefit. I also think that the people that say we have no control are the same people that later on say, I wish I would have started earlier. I think this is a proven area where if you have a well diversified portfolio and you stick within your risk tolerance, I would say that you're almost certain to do very, very well over the long run. Yes, in the short term, there might be some volatilities. If you're looking in the last month, 6 months, a year, 2 years, you might get some volatility. But if you look over decades, you'll be the numbers, the ROI, the returns are in your favor. So I would tell those people that, you say there's no control. This is a way of getting into control and sitting with your advisor. And you have input. It's not like you just give the money to the advisor and it's like, okay, I don't see it again. You have input. You have your interests, the things that there's a lot of people that want to invest in certain areas that we will certainly invest in those areas. And there's some people that, don't like a certain sector that we can or divest from and invest in different sectors. So they have control. And the plan, I think, is the best form of control. You're planning for your future. Mm-hmm. And you're the one that's going to be, ensure, like with your advisor, us and the client is working to ensure that plan is going to be completed. So you do have control. Mm-hmm. That's what I would say. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And like you said, as soon as you start and you feel that control, it's like a game. I look at my bank numbers like it's a video game, honestly. Like,
I love it.
they're just numbers at the bank. It doesn't even feel real sometimes. It's just like, oh, it's up today, oh, it's down today. Like, okay.
I look at this every single day, and I tend to agree with you. It's some days up, some days down. I get joy from it. I try to impart motivation, inspiration for anybody that I meet about it. I try to get them motivated about it because I don't want it to be a Monday like, oh, I got to go see my advisor. I want it to be like, oh, I'm working towards my future. I'm going to see my advisor. I'm excited to see what we can do, maybe to get to my goals faster. So that's the message that I give when clients come here. But you'll always get the people that would be like looking at me kind of like, and I'm just like, okay, you're doing well. Your portfolio is doing well. And it's like, okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you so much. Take care. Because some people like the numbers, right? Some people are like, oh, what's this mean? What's this mean? And some just sit there and they're just like, how am I doing, Youssef? Good? Okay, thanks. Good meeting. See you later. So you get, like, literally, there's so many different types of people. Yeah.
Yeah, but everyone should be investing.
I think so. I think, yes, I think you should everyone should take a closer look at their finances and not just take it for granted. I get a paycheck and I pay some bills. I think they should sit down with an advisor and see what's out there. And we didn't even talk about the taxes. Like, there's a lot of even things to minimize taxes through tax-free savings accounts and RSPs, and for those new parents, saving money for colleges for children, right? RESPs and things like that. There's like so many different vehicles out there. And I just don't think the common citizen would know, whereas, an advisor would know that. And I think it's in their best interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a fun conversation.
Thank you.
I had fun.
Hopefully it wasn't too boring.
Not at all. Are there any final thoughts that you feel like we might have missed over that people should definitely remember?
Remember Youssef Haidar. Well, I guess remember the message. You don't have to remember me per se, but I would say kind of what we just talked about at the end. It doesn't have to be complicating. It doesn't have to be hard. But I do think that, taking hold of your finances and learning how, the basics work. But if I had to leave you with one message today, and this is for everyone that's watching, that I would start with budgeting and then having a plan. Having a plan, sitting down with yourself and saying, okay, how do I see my life here? Yeah. Don't wait until it's later on, because time is in your favor. The eighth wonder of the world is in your favor, and there's so many resources and advisors that are willing to help. Okay, thank you. And if someone is inspired by you specifically, how do they find you? I could give you my contact information. I can give you, obviously I work with Fairway Wealth Management here at National Bank Financial. They can call me, email me here. I can also, pass on my social media, like my LinkedIn and things like that. And I encourage people to reach out, and if they have any questions, regardless if they're clients or not, I really do want to help. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the episode. If you live in Windsor-Essex County area in Ontario, Canada, then you should know that I host an open mic live storytelling event the last Saturday of every month at Aloe Lounge on Erie Street in Little Italy from 5 to 7 p.m. If you don't know what open mic storytelling is, well, I encourage anyone to come up and share their story. We have different themes every month. The event celebrates connection, our humanness, our emotions, our rawness. It gives us space to really express ourselves and to have people listen, because I feel like we don't really get too much of this anymore. It is essentially a gathering of the souls and sharing a little part of ourselves with each other, whether it be a funny story, a sad story, a happy story, a romantic story, any story that is yours, you can share. And I'm loving the community that is coming from this event. So come to the event. I hope to see you there. You can purchase tickets at www.talesofthetown.ca.